welcome to Life and Godliness with Paschal Chukwudi. Usually here we discuss matters, pertaining to life and then pertaining to godliness. We've received a lot of questions which we are going to be taking time to gradually answer in the videos we're going to be making in the next few days. Questions that border in a lot of things, but this time we want to answer a question on relationship matter. And the person wanted to know, how do you know when you are ready for a relationship, when you should, start a relationship? And I love this kind of questions and many other questions that are coming. I think checking one of the previous videos we did, somebody asked a question on if God is responsible for people being gay, considering that they have those feelings. Some people claim they have those feelings from childhood. Some people claim those feelings are natural. We are going to be answering all those questions and many more questions that you are going to be sending in. So I want to encourage you, go to the comment section, enter your questions, send it across to us. We're going to be giving attention to those questions and answering them. And if you don't mind, if you're just joining us for this channel, please subscribe. Click on the subscribe button, click on the notification button, so that you're always going to be getting updates on the value content we are bringing to your doorstep. At what stage should somebody go into a relationship? Very important question. If you've been following the things I've been teaching, there's a video I did the last time on 4 steps before marriage. 4 steps before marriage. I think we're going to drop the link to that video in the comment section so that you go and watch that video again, where I carefully highlighted the 4 steps that people go through before they eventually get into marital relationship. And I discussed in detail the subject of acquaintance. I discussed in detail the subject of friendship. I discussed in detail the subject of relationship. And I discussed in detail the subject of courtship. I think I also highlighted what dating is in that video. Please do well to watch that video. So beyond these 4 levels, at what point would you now say somebody can step into a relationship? I want you to know that there is no statement of rule. There's no law anywhere on at what level people can go into a relationship or not. The Bible is not clear on matters like this. The Bible teaches a lot about marital relationship. That's for people that are already married. The Bible did not speak so extensively on matters of relationship or matters of dating. And this is why usually whenever I'm bringing answers to this kind of questions, I want to let you know that the opinion, although they might have been extracted from scriptures, they are not express instructions that the word of God gives. And there is no rule book that states that this and this and this and this must be the things that should be done before somebody gets into a relationship. But in this video, I'm just going to be giving you about 4 ways, 4 important points I believe I learned from the word of God, that if you apply before taking decisions of relationship, you are going to be sure to come out well at the other end, of the tunnel. And the first among the rules I'm going to be, or the suggestions I'm going to be bringing, is that you pass some certain tests, about 4 of them. And the first test I want to deal with, not necessarily in order of importance, is the test of conviction. The test of conviction. It takes a while before somebody finds full conviction about a matter. And I used to say this: relationship is not something you enter for fun. The reason is because if you are not willing to step into marriage with somebody, I think you are being wicked, wasting the person's time, and say you're just doing a relationship. I think it doesn't make sense. You cannot keep somebody's daughter or somebody's son for 5 years, for 6 years, for 10 years, for whatever amount of time, and then in some cases abuse them physically, and then take advantage of their emotions, take advantage of their love, take advantage of their heart, and everything you are doing is catching fun. I think you must be especially wicked to operate like that. And it is not a Christian character, it's not a Christian attribute. It's important that before you step out to make that assertion of whether I want to spend the rest of my life with you, but let's get to know each other well. How we say these things in relationship. I think you need to be convinced. You must pass the test of conviction. To a great extent, you should be able to accurately tell that I want to spend the rest of my life with this woman. And you can accurately tell from the layer of friendship. The mistakes that most people make is that they begin relationship with people from relationship relationship. They do not begin from friendship. You've not known the person, you know nothing about the person, you have no conversation, you have no dealings, you have no communication, you don't even know much. You just see yourself once in a while. You don't know him, you don't know where he's from, you don't know where she's from, you know nothing about the person. And then you just say, hi, hello, how are you doing? I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Can we become what you? And you know the funny things that people say, and then get themselves hooked up into something they will call a serious relationship. I think whenever you spend time as friends, one of the things that friendship period does for you is that it helps to sharpen your convictions. It helps to strengthen your convictions. You must be convinced that he's my husband. Don't say yes, let's just be trying. If it works, if it doesn't work, I think you are being careless. You are being very careless with your heart. If it is true that you are giving yourself fully to that relationship, you won't say, let's just be doing it. If it works, if it doesn't work, there's nothing valuable to you that you treat with that kind of unseriousness and levity. And if you meet somebody like that around your life, and this is what the person is proposing, let's just be doing something. If it works and if it doesn't work, I think it's a bad way to begin something very serious. If you're not convinced, don't start in the first place. Relationship is very important. Maybe not as important as marriage, but it's equally important because something might go wrong and you cannot afford to break somebody's heart. So you must pass the test of conviction, deep, very deep convictions. Number 2 test I believe you must pass is the tests of financial independence. And when I say financial independence, I'm not saying you must have built a house. I'm not saying you must have had a car. I'm not saying you must have all the money in the world. No, that's not what I'm talking about. There's a level of financial freedom, or should I say financial let me use the word independence. I'm trying to, say it so that it doesn't sound very harsh, but, as serious as it can be. It's not wise to step into a relationship or to agree. And when I say this, I mean for both male and female, to just enter into a relationship and you cannot. Let's say you don't even have food to eat. You stay alone, you don't have food to eat. So whenever I talk about financial independence, I'm talking about your ability to provide your 3 primary needs. In the hierarchy of needs, there are 3 that we call the primary needs. We talk about shelter, we talk about clothing, we talk about feeding. If you live in the bush, you don't need a girl in your life. You don't need an extra stress. You don't need somebody else to take care of. If you don't find anything to eat, you don't need an extra stress. You don't need somebody that will tell you, send me money, send me this, send me that. You don't need that stress in your life. If you don't have something to wear, you don't need an extra stress. Coupled with the fact that we have a civilization where a particular gender believes they should be at the receiving end. They should not work. They should not do anything. A very rich guy should marry a very broke girl so that it makes sense. I think that's nonsense. Both of you should, to an extent, have achieved a level of financial independence. At least there's something you should be able to do. You don't get into a relationship and kill the brother with being, or you don't get into a relationship and kill the sister with being. Can I get 2K for data? Can I get 5K for soup? Can I get this for cream? Can I get 5,000 to make my hair? He's practically providing for everything. I don't know how this culture crept into our society, and I think it's not right. There's something very wrong about it. There should be some form of financial independence from both parties, but especially from the man's side. You must have been able to meet your primary needs to an extent. You might not have it all, but meet it to an extent, because relationship is expected to ultimately lead to marriage. The 3rd test I want to bring to our notice is this. There is something I call the test of spiritual readiness. The test of spiritual readiness. Whether you want to accept the fact or not, we live in a spiritual world. You can argue it till tomorrow. You might say it doesn't matter. You might say you don't care. You might say you are not a spiritual person. You might say you are not a religious person. You might say you believe in humanity. Whatever thought and inclination you want to give it, it does not distort the fact that there is a supernatural realm that is overseeing this realm. There is a kind of supernatural activity happening overhead, and to an extent determines and decides, when men partner with it, the outcomes of the things that happen in our natural space. If you are not spiritually sound of some sort, I don't want you to get involved with a guy or a sister. Let me put it this way. The reason is because there are people that come with lots of baggages, that come with some kind of challenges. You hardly find somebody in our world who does not have some kind of demonic influence that is being exerted on their lives. And whenever you come into that kind of space and you're beginning to pour your heart, you're beginning to have a kind of connection with this other party, the chances are that there will be a demonic encroachment into your own space. You need to have some kind of spiritual stability to be able to bring a lady into your zone. Yes, very important. Adam has some form of spiritual stability. He was already hearing the voice of God. He can pick signals from the spirit realm. In fact, as a matter of fact, he taught Eve, the wife, many things that Eve knows about the language of the spirit, about the communications of God. It was Adam that taught Eve how to hear from spirits. That was why even the lady can hear from serpents when the serpent speaks. This is very important. There must be some form of spiritual readiness. If you want things to shift in the natural realm, you must be able to, take decisions that spirits are going to support. You must learn the partnership of spirits. You must learn the art of prayer. You must learn to study the word of God. You must learn to do a lot of spiritual things that is eventually going to benefit you when you end up marrying the girl. And this thing should begin at relationship level. If you know you are not stable yet spiritually, you are tossed to and fro by everything that comes your way. You don't want to bring a young brother or a young girl into that kind of confusion. I want you to stay until you have this kind of certainty and readiness of spirit before you make that move. And the final thing I want to raise in preparedness before getting into a relationship is what I would call the test of emotional stability. The test of emotional stability. Beyond financial burden, emotion is a burden. Yes. You don't know what it means when you have to talk to somebody all the time. When you have to, in some cases, you meet people that want to talk to you 15 times a day, 10 times a day, 5 times a day. You might say, the person must be a jobless person. That's not what I'm saying. That's not the argument. The argument is that love will want you to have consistency in communication. Whenever there is love, there are things that are likely going to be happening. If it is not happening from you because you have stability, it might be happening from the other end. That's why people's hearts get broken at the end of the day, because they put in a lot of effort into making this whole thing work. There should be a clear test of emotions. You should be somebody that is emotionally stable. You should not be somebody that when people laugh, you are turned off. When people shout, you are turned off. When people cry, you are turned off. Everything turns you off. Every act of emotion turns you off. And then you should not be somebody that is also quick to just, play out any type of emotion. Every small thing you are crying, every small thing you are weeping, every small thing you think is because of a village, every small thing you think is because of your height, and you are always putting another guy under pressure. There's a lot of apology. He apologizes in the morning, he apologizes in the afternoon, he apologizes at night, he apologizes for not calling you, he apologizes for missing your call, he apologizes. No, this whole thing doesn't make sense. You must be an emotional, stable person, whether male or female, before you enter into a relationship. And you don't have to get into a relationship if you do not want to give the person the benefit of doubt in the area of trust. Whenever you don't trust somebody and then you keep rolling out your suspicions again and again, this whole system of relationship is not going to work. So there must be some form of emotional stability. I want to encourage you, if you love the Lord, if you want to get into marriage, you've seen a young girl, make sure you run or try to run whatever you are going to be doing through this test. Run yourself through these checks and find out if you are there. If you are not there, I will advise that you do not waste somebody's time. What you want to do is good. What you want to do is of good report, but make sure you are fully prepared for it. It's expensive, not just financial expenditure. It's expensive emotionally and otherwise. So do well to do the necessary things before getting into that motion. God bless you. Thank you for joining me today.